Hello my dear OET aspirants. My name is Shali Shashidharan and I'm one of the OET trainers at B-GHUD. So today I'm here with the solution for another cause of confusion, that is has, had and has had. We have the application of has, had and has had in our letters, and many a times we got stuck at the time of exam also where to use had, when to use has and when to use has had. So let's understand one by one the application of all these three with the help of examples. Let's talk about has. People, has represents present tense, and that too which is a fact about a person. In your task, when are you supposed to expand the statement with the help of has? For example, if in the task it is mentioned as Mr. X hyphen hypertension and no time is given. So from this sentence, we have to understand that hypertension is the present condition of the patient and time is not mentioned. So in this case, how will you expand the sentence? You can expand the sentence as Mr. X has hypertension, which means that's the present condition of the patient. Let's take one more example. Suppose Mr. X hyphen occasional depression and insomnia hyphen takes antidepressants. So in this kind of sentence, how will you expand? You can expand it as Mr. X has occasional depression and insomnia, comma, for which he is on antidepressants. The other way you can say is Mr. X has occasional depression and insomnia, comma, for which he takes antidepressants. Either if you say for which he is on antidepressants or you say he takes antidepressants, both the statements are simple present tense. So the first two example, that is Mr. X has hypertension, Mr. X has occasional depression and insomnia. In both the sentences, you can observe that we haven't added any time. Let's take one more example. Suppose the patient has type 2 diabetes. So in this case also, you can expand the statement as Mr. X has type 2 diabetes, full stop, because I have not provided you any time with all these three statements. So we can conclude that we use has to denote, to indicate the present condition of the patient, where we don't add any time. Now let's talk about had, H-A-D, had. People, had is used to indicate those actions which is a completed action in the past. We talk about the application in our letter. For example, she had pneumonia last year, or she had bronchitis in 1983. Or for example, if the patient underwent any surgeries in the past, which is a completed action in the past, there also we can use the application of had. For example, she underwent coronary artery bypass graft, which can also be said as she had coronary artery bypass graft in 2021. She underwent myocardial perfusion scintigraphy, which confirmed the diagnosis of angina. Even this can also be substituted as she had myocardial perfusion scintigraphy, comma, which confirmed the diagnosis of angina. She had chicken pox at the age of 15. So all these actions that I said has no relevance in the present. All these actions are completed actions in the past. So all those actions which are completed actions in the past having no relevance with the present, there we use had. So we learnt about two auxiliary verbs, that are has and had. Has, which indicates the fact about a person. For example, she has hypertension, she has type 2 diabetes. Had is used to indicate those actions which are completed in the past. For example, she had pneumonia at the age of 12, she had chickenpox last year, she had coronary artery bypass graft last year. So all those actions which are completed in the past, we use had. Now let's talk about has had. Many of you have been using the application of has had in our letters. So let's understand the application of has had, how to use it and when to use it. People, has had is used in our letter to expand those sentences which started in the past and has been continued up till now. For example, in the task, if it is given as Mr. X hyphen hypertension hyphen 2000. How will you expand such a statement? We will expand the statement as Mr. X has had hypertension since 2000, because 2000 is a point of time. So the patient has the condition of hypertension since 2000, and from 2000 he has this condition up till now. But if the same statement in the task was given without time, you would have expanded it in the very same way as I told you minutes before, that is, Mr. X has hypertension. So if time is given, you will write it as Mr. X has had hypertension since 2000, and if time is not mentioned, and because it's a lifestyle disease, it's a fact about a person, you will expand it as Mr. X has hypertension. Let's take one more example. Suppose a patient has had osteoarthritis for past 5 years. That means osteoarthritis. The patient developed this condition 5 years before and still patient has this condition. So in task it would be mentioned as Mr. X hyphen osteoarthritis hyphen 5 years. How will you expand the statement? You will expand the statement as Mr. X has had osteoarthritis for the past 5 years. So here the preposition that I have used is for. So with has had, we always use time. Second important thing, with has had, we use two prepositions in order to indicate time. They are since and for. With since, we use point of time, and with for, we use duration of time. With since, we use point of time. For example, he has had hypertension since 2005. He has had type 2 diabetes mellitus since 2010. Same way you can substitute with the help of for. Mr. X has had hypertension for 5 years. Mr. X has had type 2 diabetes mellitus for 10 years. And if in your task, the task talks about both the conditions, that is hypertension and type 2 diabetes mellitus, with the time provided. For example, Mr. X hyphen hypertension 2010 and type 2 diabetes mellitus hyphen 2012. Now how can you expand the statement in your letter? Now you can expand it as Mr. X has had hypertension and type 2 diabetes mellitus since 2010 and 2012, comma, respectively. This is the way you need to expand this sentence. So let's just revise. Has is used to indicate those actions which is the fact about a person, and in the task no time would be provided. There you use has. Had is used to indicate the completed actions in the past which has no connection with the present. There we use had. Has had is used to indicate those actions which started in the past and has continued up till now in the present. There we use has had. And in order to use has had, we should always add time whenever you use has had in a statement. And in order to complete the statement using has had, you have two prepositions, since and for. Since is used to indicate point of time and for is used to indicate duration of time. So do practice and do implement in your letters. Thank you everyone.